of February 19th to order. Please stand for the invocation. Mr. Ellis.
Gracious God, our Lord, our Father, our Keeper, most merciful. Lord, we thank you for bringing us together one more time. We thank you for your love and for your protection. And Lord, we thank you for watching over our country, our city, our many individuals doing the many things that we do. Lord, we ask for your blessings this evening. We ask for your guidance. We ask for your strength. Bless and keep this council. Bless and keep this city. In the name of Jesus, our Lord, our Savior. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Yes. Councilperson White.
Present.
Councilperson Yon.
Present.
Councilperson Maples.
Here.
Councilperson Gill. Here. Councilperson Hawkins.
Here.
Council President Postovny.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Ellis.
Here.
Let the record reflect that Councilperson Samuels is absent as he is going to have his 5th grandchild.
Yay!
That's
Excellent.
right. Minutes to be approved from February 4th.
If there's no correction, I move that we approve the minutes as submitted.
Second. We have a motion and second to approve the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the agenda. No changes. Motion to approve. Second. Motion second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Claims to be approved. Civil City first.
Civil City claims tonight are $1,339,703.01.
All claims in order?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve the minutes, approve the claims. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Parks claims are $104,619.83.
All claims in order?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and second to approve the parks claims. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Report of the clerk.
Real quick, today we received another bill from for our property and casualty insurance for the ISU, the River Stage, and we're going to run short this year because you all budgeted $960. Our bill in January was $461,073, and that was for the first 2 installments without the workman's comp. And the bill we received in February, there was additionals of $309,000, and I've got them all in here. That was for the commercial package. 14 was for the professional liability. 193 was for commercial package. And then with the River Stage, so that bill totaled $535,181. So the total is going to be for the year is $996,254. You budgeted $960, so we're going to be around $36,000 short. That we're going to have to probably in August or something do an appropriation or transfer. The problem is a lot of times some of these that is based off the traveler's bill is not necessarily it, because you have other insurance that comes throughout the year that's added on. Your workers' comp was $540 was budgeted, The total for this year is $402,035, which looks pretty good, which leaves us with $37,965, but our audit in 2018 was $61,918, so we may also be short in that one too. So I just want to kind of give you all a heads up because we are most likely going to have to at some point do another additional.
All right. First up, we have a couple items that are tabled to May, but then we'll go ahead and start with Heather, 2019-02, an ordinance transferring certain funds. Passed on the first and second reading on February 4th.
Yes, and this is the ordinance that the parks were all taken out of. Nothing else has changed. Parks is on a new ordinance coming up later in the agenda.
So
Wait, just to be clear, you said nothing else has changed, right?
Nothing else has changed.
All right.
I'll make a motion to pass 2019 OR2 and third and final.
Second. We have a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR2 on the third and final reading. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. You're up for another one.
And this one was also, the parks ones that you all questioned were pulled out and saw on an agenda item later on. Other than that, everything else is the same.
We're glad to entertain a motion.
We got the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. So go ahead and open the public hearing for 2019 OR3. Anyone here to speak for or against? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Now I'll be willing to entertain a motion.
I have a question. The sidewalks, professional services and improvements, what's that for?
That is appropriating the cash that's already in the sidewalk construction fund.
That's the general fund
No, it's the sidewalk construction.
for general sidewalk improvements?
Yes. The same with the improvements.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I thought I did a so moved, I didn't.
I don't think so.
2019 OR3, I moved to pass that on the this third and final.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR3 in the third and final reading. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to new business. Les Merkley, public hearing regarding a zoning ordinance.
This is a amendment or proposed amendment to our zoning code. It comes to you from the Planning Commission with a favorable recommendation. It was determined by staff that our ordinance, there was an oversight when you look at the zoning classification for institutional and C2. It does not allow for child care centers as a matter of right or daycare centers. But when you look around the city, there are several located child care centers located in those two zoning classifications. If you look at the staff report that is attached, the planning staff has discovered there is several existing child care centers in these zones and believes that they were not included in the permitted uses as an oversight. Again, this was considered by the Planning Commission and was given a favorable recommendation for you to consider amending the zoning code accordingly. And also this will be a public hearing and it was duly advertised.
Is this just like something that we randomly noticed, or was it prompted by anything? Do you know?
I do not know the answer to that.
I think there's already some daycares out there.
Yeah,
And when they're going, yeah.
I don't know how they learn.
So I'm assuming that maybe there wasn't a place for them in other parts of the planning code, so they were be added here so they would have, or is it just naturally they tend to do
They're already there and
so it just made
it just made sense to go ahead and just make them as a matter of right, which I mean, you're going to have commercial property and institutional uses.
Yeah,
It would make sense that you could have child care centers nearby.
yeah.
And it's number 4?
Yes.
All right. And it's a public hearing?
Yes, sir.
With that, we'll go ahead and open a public hearing regarding 2019 OR number 4. Anyone here to speak for or against? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comments, a public hearing. With that, it's open to the floor.
Make a motion to pass 2019 OR 4.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 4. Any discussion?
Yeah, just a comment. The institutional zoning, I mean, we talk about institutional zoning, we talk about government offices, police and fire stations, museums, hospitals, community centers, churches, and none of that really, to me, screams child care center was left out. Even in the special exception uses, child care institutions are only really laid out as that for like a youth shelter or that type of purpose. When we look at, I would be interested in looking at what type of institutional zoning districts there are that have child care facilities and if that's appropriate. I think the commercial use is probably correct or more fitting, but I'm not sure that an institutional zoning seems appropriate.
I wonder,
A church,
I was thinking proximity to schools as well, that maybe for convenience, childcare centers typically go by schools for parents that are dropping off children or as
Yeah,
part of
Covenant,
the requirements of
no,
being near
have a
school.
It did go to Covenant Life until last week, and there was dispute, but they have a child care business there,
Branch.
quite large.
Interesting.
They have something in the staff report.
Good.
Yeah, in your staff report, it'll say, planning staff has discovered that several existing child care centers in these zones and believes they were not included in permitted uses as an oversight.
First thing comes to church. I know our church used to have child care, and no longer does, but I know Covenant Life does, and I don't know if others.
I guess that makes sense. You can't really have, has to be one thing.
I don't remember how they did it, but in Jeffersonville High School had a gate.
Yeah, I was gonna say schools
I
have-
don't know how that was, if that was school, if it was a separate entity, I don't know, but that would be the case.
Except for one reason.
It's a one and done for a zoning.
One and done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. We're going to go ahead and vote. All those in favor signify, all those in favor of 2019 OR 4 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Next up, Dawn Spiker, Public Art Commission.
Give me just a second, get this set up. I decided to save some trees tonight. Usually I print you guys off the big packet for the year, and I'm just going to show it to you tonight. But you do have some things in front of you. Mug with the NOCO logo, and that was etched by the
Maker's Mark.
Makers 13. And you got some mini posters for some upcoming events. There we go. So what I want to do tonight real quick, and I won't take up too much of your time, is we developed a NOCO highlight video at the end of last year, and what it highlights is all the people that came together to help make NOCO what it is right now. A lot of volunteer faces and some different contracted groups as well. And then after that, I want to show you the 2019 Public Art Plan. Patsy, hopefully I'm doing this right. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right. All right. we'll start off with the video. It's only 2 minutes. So probably, I would say that more than half of the people in that footage, bless you, were volunteers. A lot of community members in there that were just rolling their sleeves up and painting or helping to construct something. Each year, I like to show you what we're doing for the full year. So, oh, don't look. Sorry. This is the year, every year that we have this, we have a theme. For 2019, the Public Art Commission came together and decided that unfurling would be the perfect theme for 2019. I am going to read this to you because I think it's important. Unfurling is the theme for 2019. It's a rich descriptor of our place in public art at this time. 6 years ago, the seeds of our creative movement were planted in the rich soil of this community. Countless individuals, departments, and organizations have come together over the past 6 years to help nurture our community's creative growth. It is with hopeful hearts and helpful hands that we witness and help sustain the creative potential that is unfurling before our eyes in 2019 and beyond. Stay the course, Jeffersonville, and tend to the unfurling creativity within. So that's kind of our mantra for this year. Some of these things you'll recognize because we started a tradition with them. So this year we're going to be doing the Arts Abound and All Around again, and starting with Shakespeare in the Park. This year we're going to host it at Picasso Point, which is new. We usually host it at the Pavilion, and rather than Midsummer Night's Dream, they changed it up just a couple months ago to Macbeth, so Macbeth will be coming. With that, we're going to have music out there, we'll have some food, we'll have some activities before Kentucky Shakespeare begins their performance. Powered by Creativity, it's a utility box year, so we'll be going through and identifying 12 to 15 utility boxes. So if you have one that you're thinking, ooh, I've got one close by in my neck of the woods, shoot us an email, and Andy's compiled a list of utility boxes that we are able to actually do something with and some that we can't, so we'll compare it to those notes. The neighborhood sculpture trail's coming back, so we're going to put out a call for 3 more sculptures to be put into neighborhoods. Public engagement projects. We've got the community session, art making session that's going to be happening at the Arts Center. That's a mosaic workshop, and that's, you have a little mini poster in front of you if you'd like to come to that or if you'd like to attend that. And with that mini poster, there was a design underneath it that was really colorful. That's the design that we're mosaicing onto the surface. We're starting something new. Last year we did Artist in Residence, where we had Fernando Moya go to Spring Hill and Parkwood Elementary Schools, and we decided that instead of doing that, let's get the schools and the community to come to the Art Center instead. So let's host activities there instead. So we've got a series of 8 different artists that are coming to the Art Center through April through December, offering different activities. And the first 3 months we're going to pair up with Jeff Main Street for the wine walk and the chocolate stroll and things like that to open up the bay doors of the arts facility and have demonstrating artists. And then the rest of them kind of tie in with holidays and things of that nature. We've got Brian Somerville coming into town, and he's going to be a workshop artist through for an entire week or 2 in July. He does monumental sculptures, so he's going to be working with the community at the Arts Center and working on a rather large piece. We've got Jack Becker coming in from Forecast Public Art. This was something that was recommended by the Indiana Arts Commission when we became a certified arts and cultural district. They said, you guys are doing great, but you don't have a long-range plan and you need one. So he was recommended to us along with one other person, and Forecast Public Art is pretty much the best in the nation that's out there. He's actually retiring this year, but likes what we're doing and said that will be his last project. So he'll be coming in April, and he'll be having a series of focus groups and meetings here on site. He plans to have 4 or 5 of those. And then in November, he'll have a long-range plan for us, not just for NOCO, but it's going to wrap in the whole public art program in the city. So he'll be able to present that to you in November, which is exciting. The NOCO initiative, so things that are happening right now, you've probably noticed that for the illuminated path, there are some additional acorn lights that are popping up down Pearl Street and crossing over Court and down Michigan. The projectors are already in place. The lights are not hardwired in yet, but they will be next month, and then we'll be able to project those images on the ground, which is exciting. The depot space, they're going to be installing just an entryway as a teaser next month to get people excited. And we're actually going before the Tourism Bureau or Board one more time in March, and we're going to do another presentation to seek additional funding to help kind of finish this project. It's rather large. The black box is what we're calling it right now because it doesn't have another name, but that's the little black box next to the tank, which is going to develop into a little tchotchke shop. And we hope to have some small gifts that are made here in southern Indiana to sell and promote the district out of that shop.
Dawn, before
Yes.
you move on, where
Yep.
is the depot?
So the depot is going to be situated in the grass, the 1-acre green grass that's next to the Clark County Museum.
Is that kind of repurposed storage? I've
Exactly.
seen that done in other communities. It's
Yep, repurposed storage containers. And
awesome.
we've been getting a lot of phone calls from some of the groups that helped Copper and Kings.
Mhm.
So there's several groups in Louisville that are keeping their eye on this project and are
Yeah.
ready for it to go live because they want to bid on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we should have some interesting, an entirely revamped space when it's all said and done.
Do you have the concept video from the depot?
I don't, but what I can do is I can share that with Vicki so you guys can access that. It's a
There's
neat
nice
It's a
video.
neat
Yeah.
flyover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want
It's
you
a
guys to
really
see that.
cool atmosphere. I think the one that I saw was in like a suburb of Las Vegas, and it was,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
the container park in Las Vegas. Yep.
yeah. It was
This
really
one, I know I'll share that out with you guys so you can see the flyover, but just where my mouse is right here, this little zigzag, what that is a double-decker unit, really. The lower level is storage shipping containers, and that's all an artisan village, so retail shops, which we don't have really. The upper level is viewing, so it's covered viewing, so you can look at, what are you viewing? You're viewing this area right here, which is a stage. So it'll be a small stage, nothing like the river stage, a little bit smaller than that, more intimate. I know that Paul had been talking about putting some of their smaller acts maybe down here. And then this long unit right here, those are actually 3 shipping containers repurposed into looking like a rail car and a caboose. And in the center will be a commissary so they can heat and cool the food. But on either end, the intention is to have more of a full-scale restaurant on either end, 2 different styles. And then there's a series of these little things that look like crosses. They're actually shipping containers that the windows flip out, and they're meant to be little bodegas. So having specialty foods in them, like maybe bagels, things like that, cheeses, whatever ends up coming. I do know that redevelopment has been talking quite a bit with Mesa, the group in New Albany that's doing all the kind of the startups with the chefs over there, which that'd be interesting to have some people come in like that.
Which part of that is north and which part of that is south?
North is right here where the stage is, and south is down here where the little bodegas are. This is right here, this is Michigan. Michigan runs right here.
So the stage would face away from the Clark County Museum?
Actually, the stage would,
Or is that
it would face in. So the Clark County Museum's,
would back up to it?
yeah,
Right.
yep. Mhm.
And those containers will
Oh, sorry.
provide a barrier, kind of a sound barrier for the residents.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yep. This is another initiative. The Indiana Arts Commission also, when they granted us our accreditation, said, you guys are really lacking gallery spaces, and we know, but that's something we're working on. And they said, you need to be kind of creative. You got all this wall space down here. So one concept, and this is something I'm writing a grant for right now, and I'll be submitting in a couple weeks, but is to utilize the side of the Makers facility. And I've been talking to the Nolans, Chris Nolan Jr. and Sr. about using the side of this building and doing kind of like basically an outdoor gallery that we can rotate yearly, and we can put a call out to artists and maybe have some sort of theme for that particular year, and those artists would create a piece and then they would continuously switch out. And even framing them out, like if you went to the Speed Gallery and you were in the Renaissance area and they're kind of gaudy frames, right? So kind of purposefully framing them out like that and having a pendant light hanging over top, so at night they'd be illuminated, which would be pretty cool. I think artists would really get into that too. And maybe even reserving one for students, for some young ones to create a piece. This is something we're also very excited about, is the art space that's down there right now. We have a grant, but that grant only pays for part of what we need to do. And what you're looking at is the revamped space. And if you've been down there, which many of you have, it's still pretty raw from when it was the Greenwell's Auto Shop. So we're really not going to change the bones of the facility all that much, but we're going to block things off to bring in revenue. So right now we do have one artist that pays monthly, and we have the Arts Alliance that pays 4 times a year. So we are bringing in a little bit of revenue, but this would bring in 7 permanent studio spaces, so 7 avenues that way, a flex gallery space down the middle, which we can rent out, and then we're going to keep this big community art making space there so we can continue to use that. This has been a long time coming. We started this project like 2 years ago, and this is the piece that's going to go on the riverfront. It's been through a couple revisions. This is the piece that's on its way here. Quincy Owens and Luke Crawley out of Indianapolis got the call for this. They were awarded this call. We've been working with the Army Corps of Engineers to make sure that they were okay with the design as well. So it will be a paddle wheel, but the neat thing is these are acrylic, so these are actually clear. They're very thick. The guys have we've been talking with them about people climbing on it. They know all about that. But it's going to be illuminated at night, so the lights will shine through these paddle wheels, which will be pretty awesome. And they're going to have a URL code. They're going to come down, and you are very welcome to come if you'd like to, on March 4th, down at the Arts Center. The guys are going to do a small presentation and kind of talk about this project, and they're going to take sound bites. They're coming in early that day to go out to eat on the Belle of Louisville, and they're going to audio record the paddle wheel sounds on the river. They're going to go down to the Falls of Ohio, record some nature sounds, and then they're going to do some interviews with people. So we'll have people talking and expressing why the river is important to them on this as well. And as for that piece, you're probably wondering, when's it coming? That piece will be installed hopefully way before June, but it has to be installed by June. That's our deadline for them. So there you go. I'm not going to read the introduction, but there's a lot going on this year. I hope that with those little mini posters that are in front of you, one is for the mosaic. I'd love to have one table reserved for council to come to that event, and maybe you guys help with one of the panels. I've been in connection with a company out at River Ridge, and they're going to come in their t-shirts, and they're all going to be at one, which is pretty cool. The other little poster you have is for the elementary school art show. Greater Clark lost its venue in the public library this year because they're also renovating, so they needed a space. So some of our guys have been building movable walls when it's been really cold outside. So the kids are really excited to have it down at the Art Center. So that's your invitation to come to that. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don, I did have a couple questions. You'd mentioned adding to the sculpture rotations.
Mhm.
Do you plan on relocating any of the sculptures, or you're keeping the ones that are already installed where they are and just adding 3 additional?
No, well, first we're going to add additional this year, and then we're going to start to move them around. So this will be the next year that we install, and then the next grouping that we have, we'll start to lift and rotate.
Have you determined locations where you would like to add those new sculptures yet?
The new ones, yes, there's already a pedestal that is over by, I wish I could remember the road off the top of my head. It's over by Perrin Park. There's already one that's in place right there, and there's 2 more that are on some new sidewalks that just got put in. Do you remember, Ed?
One in Hopkins, when we did Hopkins?
Yes, I think there's one in Hopkins. Yep. And I can shoot that out to you guys too.
I was just curious kind of where they're going to be located in.
Yeah, and if you've got some new locations for us for next year, let me know. We've just been trying to be really careful to not put them in somebody's front yard. So everybody loves them, of course, and they're like, oh, you can put it up here in front, in front of my house. I'm like, no, we want to try not to do that because there's a bench involved and a trash receptacle too. So, yep. Thanks.
Don, while you're here and Wes is here, I know I talked to you about the Duke Energy, the fence
The substation.
around that. I think at one point we had permission to, you explained it to me, it'd be very hard for me to explain it, but
Yep.
basically to cover that up, and then permission was revoked. Is there any chance of getting re-permission?
Yep, so Rob has been talking with somebody new in Duke at this point, and there has been some things communicated back and forth, so there's some potential there. I don't know how soon.
I
but-
believe you said they already had the layout and what they were going to do for that project, then it got canceled.
Yeah, well, I can speak directly to that. So the piece that's actually behind the jet, it's called Jeff, the red running guys, everybody calls it red running guys, those colorful panels, 1,914 boards later, because we sanded each one and we assembled every single panel, we had been in contact with the director that was regional here, and this was maybe, 4 years ago now, and he had approved the project. We went through 3 different prototypes. He was worried about wind, he was worried about materials and all that. We finally came up with that design. He was okay with that and said, yeah, let's do it. And then 3 days before our community art making event, somebody from their main office called and said, yeah, well, we decided to revoke that, and he is retired, and so this is the decision that we're making final. And so we had been promoting this activity with the community for months, so we decided to continue with the activity and just relocate the piece. So, but I kind of think now, at that time, there was nothing down there, so it didn't stand out as much, and now it really stands out. So I'm hoping that they'll change their mind.
Okay.
Yeah, and the fact that Indiana American Water has been so great to work with, we've been saying that a lot lately, in hopes that they would hear us say that. So.
Don, I just want to say that I think you're really inspiring, and I think that your vision for the public art in Jeffersonville, I know it's a team effort, but you're really leading that coalition, and as far as I'm concerned, we blow Louisville out of the water and all of our surrounding counties. It's incredibly impressive, and I love just seeing your yearly updates and all the things that are working, and it seems like I'm always finding public art pieces that I didn't know existed in the city of Jeff, so thank you for all of your effort.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, and I'm excited too. Andy was just showing me just yesterday how we're going to put our public art on Google Maps now, because he's figured all that out. So pretty soon you can Google Map us, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. But we would not get as much done if it wasn't for the support of you guys and everybody in City Hall and our community. And it just wouldn't happen. So thanks.
Thank you much.
Yep.
Next up, Heather. We have another ordinance transferring certain funds.
Do you have a cool video for us, Heather?
I do not, no.
Ah.
This is not as exciting as that, sorry.
Maybe next time.
This is the transfers that were pulled off from the last meeting for the Parks Department, and Amber Ridings is here if you have questions.
I am not Paul, he's at a conference, Indiana Parks Conference, so I'll do my best, but I'm still learning also, so
I'll try and help.
here, thank you.
I don't know if anybody else, but I really want to hear the edit. Edit was a hard sell for me during budget talks. I did not want to go into edit for this type, and now it was a hard sell, and now you want to transfer. I would like to hear the reasoning behind the edit transfers.
I think we had a meeting this afternoon to try and brainstorm the best way to explain it. And if you look at the top, where in 204, how the transfer out for 209 was decreased by 68,000. And that was so the regular parks fund, the 204, could increase on their utilities and repairs and maintenance and majority for there. But since we decreased the amount of the transfer that's going to go to 209 from the 204 fund, down at the very bottom, that increases the transfer out and edit to go to 209 to support the 209 fund, the activity fund. So that difference there is actually a decrease is the reason why the reduction, the additional appropriation and reduction is on the next ordinance.
Was there already a portion of edit dollars being transferred into the 209 fund?
Yes. Which has decreased. We looked at that earlier today too. It was 195,000 in 2017, and that was lowered to 105,000 in 2018, and then that was the same for 2019. So there's still, with this additional 37,000 and the 105 that's already there, it brings it to 142,000, which is still $40,000 less than what it was in 2017.
Will this be something that will then continue like as we look at 2020? Is this kind of the new way that we will adjust that, or do we anticipate going back to the 105 number? I mean,
It's,
I know that's a difficult question to answer.
I think that the utilities have increased a lot, the repairs and maintenance have increased a lot. And I think that's where, at the end of the year, there's always a struggle on trying to move money at the end of the year to try and pay the last water bill or the last electric bill. And I do know, I don't want to speak for you, I'm sorry, but
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I know that Paul has talked to all of his people and all the managers to basically put a hold on purchasing any kind of equipment right now. And the chances that if this doesn't pass, we'll at least know in the future we're not spending the money that we need to be transferring out later on. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Any other questions?
I think the biggest piece of confusion was, I mean, it's very obvious to look at this sheet and see that we're pulling money out of the 209 fund and then replenishing part of it from edit, and that was kind of a red flag because it just looked like we might as well just pay those utilities out of edit if that's...
Which is concerning.
It's essentially what we're doing, which we're not okay with.
Right.
But, I mean, this is the third meeting that we've tried to get some information. I think it's
Did the spreadsheet help at all that we sent to you? Did you take a look at that?
not really.
Okay.
And so
Yeah,
just to be
because
clear,
Spreadsheet has year, like 2017, 2018, the trend of what's
Right.
happening. And like on the spreadsheet, where was it? Hold on one second. Oh, in the Parks 204 fund, year to year, like even from last year to this year, we didn't have enough money in this year's budget to pay what we paid out last year in 2018.
So, Heather, you briefly mentioned what the alternative is, right? Like what the trade-off would be here. So it's really just putting a hold on, you said equipment purchases? Do you know
Yes.
what the anticipation is for,
Right.
like, what
We
that
kind
would
of
be?
discussed at the end of the year last year, since there were so many transfers,
Mhm.
that let's see where the year ends up, and then we'll have this discussion once the first of the year comes. Try and get the budget in line of what we spent last year in the right accounts, and then hopefully come to you all for a transfer to get things where we believe needs to be, rather than doing it at the end of the year.
Does
I-
the, go ahead.
No,
Does the green space, that's the green team, they have the equipment they need?
Do they have the equipment they need?
They have equipment now. I mean, there's always things that come up or repairs that need to be made, but that's a day-to-day basis.
But right now they're operational.
Yes.
They seem to always have some equipment that they want. Every meeting, I hear a lot of, matter of fact, I've already heard this year that there's another piece of equipment that we think we could use is better than what we already have. So that's always going to be a situation with the green team or green space, however you call it. I mean, and it's like any other department. There's always going to be new equipment that comes out that does jobs better than what the old equipment does, and that's one of the things that we have from our green space.
Any other questions?
this might be an ignorant question, but I'm wondering how often, because I know that we transfer certain amounts from various funds in many different accounts. Like that happens in almost every account probably. There's money coming from other sources. And I wonder how often this happens where then those funds go on to pay those kind of maintenance or operational expenses, but we just don't realize it because, you know what I mean? I just wonder, obviously we're seeing this transaction and we know what the direct link is. I just wonder how often that happens. That's not a question I anticipate an answer, but it's just a statement. You know, my line of questioning was just thinking about what would be the backup plan for this? What is going to be sacrificed as a result of not deciding on this today? And I don't know if that's a pressing need or not. I'm not up to date on the Parks Department and what their needs are, but
There's one thing that I would like to see all departments do. I mean, when we do a budget, when the council does a budget during the year, we do a budget for a specific purpose, and that's to live within this budget until the next budget comes through. That's something that none of our departments seem to be able to do, or maybe I would probably say seem to want to do, because there's always money that they can go back to the pot for. So I think that at some point, as the fiscal body of the city, at some point, we're going to have to make a decision of how we're going to continue to allow the funds to be spent, or whether we're going to just say, no, this is as far as we go, and let's see what it is at the end of the year.
So Heather, you know, when we did the budget last year, you know, we came up with this number that ended up being, I believe you mentioned it's short of what was actually, was the actual, was that just because we didn't project high enough when, in October, of what the last 2 months of utilities would be? I mean, or did we kind of know that it would be short in 2019?
I think that part of the fault of the budget is looking at expenditures as of the end of June,
Yeah.
and then the department kind of looks at it from that perspective. And then I know that we did have some meetings with the Parks Authority a little bit later in, after July, August, sometime in that area, and try to shore them up a little bit better. But a lot of, I think, their activities do kind of happen more towards the end of the year. But I hear Mr. Owen there where you say, well, we had trends for the past few years, and that's what we look at, and that's true, yes. But I do think that the parks have taken on a lot more than what they have in the past. I think they just keep growing every year.
Yeah.
And some of the normal expenditures on just keeping the lights on and water and that kind of thing has increased substantially.
Do you know what the total spent in utilities equals? What, like for 2018, what was that total number?
For electric, it was spent 106 and it's budgeted at 90.
Okay.
Water was spent at 54, it's budgeted at 30. Gas was spent, gas looks like it's okay. Yes, the sewer bill was about 34,000 and it's budgeted at 35. So,
So when you look at all the budget items, how much are we over budget from projections of last year? I mean, how much more?
well, in the long run, what these two ordinances would do, the transfer and the additional, is actually, it's actually a reduction, lowers the amount it's not asking for any more money. We're actually shifting it around and lowering the amount that's being spent out of 209. So,
Because you're only transferring the 37.5, right?
right,
To replace the 68.5.
right, exactly. So the two ordinances is actually a reduction in their spending.
Can I suggest that if we're having this problem now, let me take that back. If we're having this issue to solve now, this will be more of an issue when we have a 115-acre park with utilities and things of that
I
nature.
would say so,
Correct.
yes.
So in the designing of that park, it would probably be wise to think about solar power, things that won't cost us a whole lot more. I'm sure there are technologies that can help reduce the cost of utilities, especially when there's such a large space.
That's outside of my scope, but
I know, but
Yes, yes,
the assistant director is here.
yes. I will
Just
make
something
note
to
of
think
that.
about.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know if it may be cost prohibitive, I don't know. I'm not in that business, but it's something to definitely think about.
We budgeted at 155.
All right. Is there any other questions or any actions the council want to take?
Actually, I was just calculating the, what the percentage increase in that budget line would be. It's about 35.3%. So if you took the total dollars that were spent in 2018 on utilities by adding another 68.6, be like a 35% increase in that budget line, if anyone's wondering. But I don't have any.
This is just a transfer within the same departments. The bottom line is the budget
It's the same.
is going to be the same. You're just moving money around, which previously department heads are told to work within your budget, find the money within your budget to make it work. That's what they've done here. There's no additional money. The bottom line is still the same that was budgeted by council. But I'm assuming if this doesn't work, then they're not going to come back with additional appropriation. Which you all don't want.
I guess the frustration is that it doesn't matter. I think it's necessary that we're going to go ahead and approve these changes, but hopefully we'll have a little more foresight when budget time comes around for 2020 and not have to switch all of these appropriations out of these different funds. The downward trend has been to lessen the impact on edit for the 209 fund, and we're kind of reversing course on that here so that we can pay utilities, which is what's frustrating.
And
And
edit.
it's taken 3 public meetings to kind of come out and say that.
And we're talking 2 different levies. Edits, You remember how we had that whole discussion, put the stuff in edit? We went like to do edit one and done.
What's the number?
5.
Motion to approve 2019 OR 5 on the first and second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to pass 2019 OR 5 on the first and second reading. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'm going to do a roll call vote just to, I don't know if I heard enough ayes or nays.
Hold on a second.
I heard one nay.
I
Okay,
heard
give
one
me-
nay, but I
yeah,
think I only heard 2 ayes.
Hold on, gotta get my little sheets out. This is now required by state. Record everything separately.
Regulations.
Posted online. So,
Thank you for all you do, Vicki.
oh, well, thank you. Councilperson White.
Aye.
Councilperson Yon.
Hi.
Councilperson Maples.
Aye.
Councilperson Gill.
Aye. Nay.
No. Okay. Councilperson Hawkins.
Aye.
Councilperson Owen.
Aye.
Councilperson Ellis. Council President Zaskovny.
Aye.
Okay. There was only
Yeah,
one
see,
no
this is-
vote.
All right, thank you. So passed on the first and second.
Shifting it around.
Ms. Metcalf, you ready to go for yet another one? This is the ordinance of additional appropriation.
Yes, this is the second half of all of this. This is actually a reduction.
Motion to approve 19 OR 6 on the first and second.
Second.
We have motion and second to pass 2019 OR 6 on the first and second. Go ahead, comments?
How does this affect the single phase?
Their budget was higher than what was actually spent last year,
Okay.
so that's where we felt that,
Thank you.
It was pretty significantly higher than what they
Like
spent last year, wasn't it?
$30,000.
About
It's like
40
$30,000.
30,000.
I think we spent 70. I think it was budgeted 100.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
No one opposed.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm next again.
Our attorney?
No, no, no,
Oh,
we
yeah,
got one
we
more.
got one more, I'm sorry, yep. Another additional
You're on
appropriation.
a roll.
Yes. Larry's here to speak about his vehicle request.
I'm requesting 2 new trucks for plumbing inspector and my building inspector. They're currently driving 2006 Dodge Ram 1500. Has 135 plus miles on it, 135,000 plus miles. The Dodge Durango is a 2007 with 145,000. They're both been in the shop a fair amount. The black truck is got a rear end problem or a transmission problem. We haven't been able to locate what it is yet. I got two prices from John Jones and from Coyle. John Jones on the vehicles for the 2019 Rams is $26,124 a piece. That's with the light set up. So it makes them about $1,000 cheaper than Coyle or John Jones Chevy pickups. I put it in my 5-year budget, plan for 2 trucks, but now since we're having problems with them, I just thought we'd come forward and try to get them.
Larry, I did inform the council how, I know that one day when I was in checking on some code enforcement things, that your inspectors once again couldn't go out because it was in the shop. So I did relay to them that you're at the point to where your inspectors aren't going out to do their inspections because of their vehicles being broken.
Yeah, we have had some problems with it, and my goal is to take the Dodge Ram and take it to the city garage for a secondary, for a backup truck. Because all they got now is that little white Jeep, and that thing, it's dangerous. That thing needs to go. And then the black pickup, we can keep here for, tree planting and sign pickups and just have an extra truck.
I did get a price on Dodge Durango for a trade-in. They offered $2,000 for it, so.
What what vehicles do you plan on purchasing?
Dodge pickups,
Dodge pickups?
yes. Half-ton, just half-ton pickup trucks. And they are four-wheel drive, because we do get out on some pretty hairy sites at times.
And this is for the outright purchase, correct?
Yes,
Did you look into lease?
have not, no. The total that John Jones gave me, he said $52,248 what it would come to.
We do a significant amount of business with him, so that's why I asked. We do a significant amount of business with him, so that's why I was wondering if...
I've never done a lease, do y'all even recommend leases, or?
I'm not recommending, I was just wondering if because the police department's doing them,
Yeah.
there seems to be an advantage there, so I didn't know if that was a discussion you had or not.
The spreads it out.
I'm not questioning.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advocate for a lease for the
Probably paying more.
No?
I mean, I wouldn't either.
Spread the money and pay more.
Right.
We're getting two brand-new trucks for $26,000 a piece, which is very
Good.
very good price.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'd say that probably if you went and bought them out of the government, it's probably $35,000.
Oh, yeah, yeah, this is a very good price for two brand-new 1,500 Dodge trucks.
I'll take your word for it. I know you-
When we look at our
you deal with the
income,
sheriff's
office, so
when we look at our income coming through the building commissioner's office for 2018, do we know where we budgeted that and where it ended up? Would you?
I don't have that information right now. If you would have
Sorry.
shot me a quick email, I could have had that for you.
I know, but
We did bring a permit in last week and a half ago, about $95,000.
Really?
It helps cover them.
Right. I can't pull, I died, so I can't pull up to even know what we budgeted
Did you say
in
you
the budget
died?
for income this year, so.
I know, I died.
And again, this is additional appropriations, we have March 4th hearing.
Right,
Yeah, we could have it.
yeah.
It looks like this is current, so it's only been almost 2 months now. Building commission licenses and permits, you have budgeted $550,000, and so far you've taken in $127,000. So we're well on track to get there.
Right.
Yeah, we're only a sixth of the way through.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve 19 OR 7 on the first and second.
Second.
We have a motion second to pass 2019 OR 7 on the first and second reading. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wilder could not make it. He's in trial and couldn't make it today. Any department heads? Department heads? Nope. Public comment? Anybody sign up for public comment? Nope. Council comments? Mr. White?
Thank you. I missed the last meeting because my flight was delayed, but I was informed there was some discussion about the tabling of the animal zoning code amendment. There was concern by the commission about the amendment that was presented, and so we, as a commission, decided to table it, I believe until the April meeting. I wasn't here for the discussion, but it's my understanding my name was brought up. I was one of the many people who voted to table it to consider future amendments. Also, I wanted to bring up, I believe we give around $5,000 to JNLA, and it's my understanding that they use some of that for National Night Out. And there seems to be an appearance of it being a political organization, so I think we need to take a look at that and see if political activities are going on while they're receiving city funding or not. So it's something that I'll be raising again after I ask some further questions. Thank you.
Ms. Young?
I already gave my shout out to Dawn for her presentation earlier. Thank you again. And I did just want to make a comment about the transfers that we're looking at. And that I can understand that it is an overall decrease. My point was just in having a 35% increase in budget means that our projections were pretty far skewed when we were budgeting last year. So I think, just as Matt had pointed out, if we can have some more, which, hindsight's 20/20, right? But have some more, maybe more conservative estimates when we budget that in the future to avoid any problems like this. I also wanted to mention that I met with Kim Calabro a week or two ago to discuss continuing professional training for employees at the city. And Kim and I have settled on continuing to offer bi-monthly workshops for some of the management leaders here at the city, because we both agree that continuing to promote leadership and professional growth in the city is important. And so those will be open to city employees in the future as well as opportunities for them. So I think it's a great initiative that we've been able to partner, and Kim's excited to offer more options and trainings for the staff here. So be on the lookout for those. City Council's obviously invited as well.
Mr. Maples?
Just want to note that Councilperson Yon did not wish us a happy President's Day last meeting, and she is very good about pushing everybody.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I looked at my calendar to make sure there weren't any holidays between now and our next meeting. They're not. So I retroactively wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day, happy President's Day. Yes, thank you for...
No further. Ms. Gill?
I just want to say that all of the receipts for our National Night Out is within the claims list. I know that it's provided to Vicki in her office. It's for the tents, it's for tables, it's for every bit of that. 5,000 goes for National Night Out. 6,000. 6,000? 5,000. 6,000. Yeah, so those receipts there show every bit of where that money is spent.
That it? Mr. Hawkins?
Two things. One, I apologize for missing our workshop beforehand. I was in the unfortunate position of having to go to a former student of mine's funeral who finally lost a several-year battle with cancer. Justin Coates was the boy's name, and well, he's a man now, and he grew to be a good man, and I just thought he was worth a mention. He affected a lot of people's lives by his good nature and always seeing the best in things, even up until a couple weeks ago. Having his spirit, the spirit he carried with him is something that should be tried to be copied by all of us. So I wanted to mention Justin at this meeting. And then also, I have a question for Les, now on a much more day-to-day note. The railroad crossings at Utica-Sellersburg Road. I should open an alignment shop and a tire shop at the end of Utica-Sellersburg. Of course, I know they're the railroad's responsibility.
I'm glad you brought that up. Bring that up.
What are
someone this week?
Okay, so when constituents ask me, what are we doing, our city attorney is doing something.
Right through their life.
Yes. It's horrible. Like, it really is a disaster there. So I'll tell them that our city attorney is contacting people and see if we get something moving
Last
on.
time I drove through there, I think I had a 2-year-old
It's still on the side of the road? Okay. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Owen?
On that note, we have in the past, there's 3 crossings there. In the past, I know we've worked through the engineering department with one of the railroads to try to beef up the crossing so that it would last longer, and I think that was a successful venture. The third and last crossing there, that's the roughest that I hit today and lost a tire.
Probably just have to ignore that area.
That's a different railroad. I don't know if we would have a successful venture there as well, but I think it's worth at least exploring through the engineering department.
I don't know. I'll find out.
It's a very small, yeah.
I think the one that...
I think it's a private.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I think it's private.
Yeah. The other thing, we received a letter from Julie Mormon at Communities and Schools. She's the executive director there. Just wanted to read a part of that. It says, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thanks for your support to Communities and Schools of Clark County. Your support of Communities and Schools Clark County helps achieve our mission of surrounding students with community support, empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life. Your support of CIS Clark County will help to provide academic resources, mental health resources, and basic needs for students in Jeffersonville. By bringing adults to schools to address children's unmet needs, CIS provides the link between educators and the community. We currently provide services to 8 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 1 high school within the city of Jeffersonville. These resources provided by CIS Clark County help to support students at risk and provide them with additional support needed to be successful in the classroom and in life. And it goes on a little bit longer, but I just wanted to read that for the record, and I'll leave that with Ms. Conlon to have entered into the minutes. But we did deliver our support that we had in the budget for that organization a couple of weeks ago, and they were very thankful and appreciative. And that's all.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes. First, I would like to thank you all for your prayers and condolences in the loss of my brother. It was quite a loss for me. I'm still on the verge from that loss, but God is good, and everything's going to be all right. On my way to a meeting today, I come out Spring Street, and at Spring Street and Smith Avenue, there is a guy that has a car for sale, and it's backed in off of the street, and the front bumper of that car is out to the edge of the street, and anyone coming down the street has to actually go out into the street to get around that. So is there something that could be done about that? At Spring Street and Smith Avenue, 1600 block of Spring Street. Okay, I know there's something in our ordinances that says something about parking on the sidewalk, so that would be one that if you don't stop it now, it'll just continue to grow. And that's all I have.
All right, I just have one thing. Ms. Spiker talked about the Jeffersonville Arts Commission, all the great things that are going on, and there are a lot of great things. Unfortunately, the appointment we made isn't going to work out, so we're going to have to make another appointment, and we have 2 names that are possibilities, and next council meeting will bring up those names, or the final name for that. So just wanted to let everybody know about that. With that, no other comments? Motion to adjourn?